Okay, well, if we're all here, I have 10:59 on my wristwatch, so that's pretty close on the time. Okay, did Sarah need to say something before we start?
Mr. Chair,
Pardon me?
have you called the meeting? Have you called the meeting to order now?
Oh, I thought she was going to talk before that. But that's okay. Let's call the meeting to order and do a roll call, please.
Larry Porter,
Here.
Jack Looney,
Here.
Arlen Land,
Here.
Joe Zach,
Here.
Mark McDonald,
Here.
Jerry Atkins.
Here. Okay, now do we want to have Sarah speak or?
Sure. Yeah, could we go ahead and let everybody know who else is on the call first?
Oh, I'm sorry, staff. You want to go down to staff? Okay, fine.
Yeah, we have Adam Norris on the line, Assistant City Manager, and Sarah Carnes-Limp, the City Councilor, and Steve Wagner from City 7, and myself.
Great. Okay.
Okay, I'll go ahead.
Sarah,
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I just want to give a friendly reminder that we are conducting a public meeting this morning under the rules of the Missouri Sunshine Law Open Meetings Act. We are able to do this by telephone. The law allows us to do it. So notice has been posted, and the public is allowed to view this meeting via the city's website. But however, we will need a motion to suspend our rules of procedure because it does state under Article 2, number 5, that the meetings will be conducted in person. So we'll need a motion to suspend the rules of procedure to allow this meeting to move forward.
Larry Porter, I make a motion.
go ahead.
Jack Looney, second.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend the article and to conduct this by special meeting by telephone conferencing. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Larry Porter,
Yes.
Jack Looney,
Yes.
Arlen Land,
Yes.
Joe Zach,
Yes.
Mark McDonald,
Yes.
Jerry Atkins.
Yes. Okay, the motion passed. Then, as I understand it, there's another motion that wants to come forward.
Well, I'd like to give a few rules real quick, Chair, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Well, first, I would like to say that at our next regular meeting, I am going to bring forward an amendment for your rules of procedure so we can keep it as best practices and put it in line with the Missouri state law to allow these types of meetings to be conducted. So we don't have to make a motion every time we want to handle a telephone meeting. So I will bring that at the next regular meeting and make sure you guys have a copy of the amendments to review before you vote on them. And then I also like to go over some rules for today.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Sarah, could you put that on the email prior to the next meeting so we can look at that?
Of course.
Not that there's any controversy about it, but just so we see it.
Yep, sure will.
Okay.
And I also like to go over a couple rules. Obviously, Chair Atkins is running the meeting, so if you would like to speak, please address him with your name so he can call upon you. If you could keep your phones muted unless you're talking to help keep the background noise out so we can have an efficient meeting. State your name, obviously, before you address so we know who's talking and Christina can take our minutes appropriately. And if you could keep your questions to the end of the discussion so we can make sure that everyone hears the question and the answers. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions about the procedure? All right. Then I understand that there is a motion that wants to be presented. Mark, were you going to do that?
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, this is Mark McDonald, 420 West Farmer, Independence, Missouri, a member of the PUAB. And I would like to provide a rough draft of a motion, hopefully through their meeting today that we can finalize it. And it's under per Independence Charter, section 316, item 9. I recommend, and I say, we, the Public Utility Advisory Board, recommend a rebate of unrestricted excess reserves to the Independence utility ratepayers. Amount to be determined either through the through the subcommittee on rates or the city council. Given the economic crisis for all of our ratepayers, it is critical that the financial benefit be recognized as soon as possible. And what I'm asking us to do is to look at our excess reserves, unrestricted excess reserves, to do a rebate to our ratepayers. And then I also cite the basis for the approval of the motion. One is the Bondurant decision, and I've cited the where the locations, the citations can be found, and also Independence, Missouri City Charter 317. The one question I do have, does a rebate equal a rate reduction? And that's my motion.
I second it. Larry Porter, Mr. Chairman. I second the motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
this
we
is
have
Carl Mann.
Okay, just a second. We have a question and we have a second. And so now we can have the debate. Garland?
I question that this is in order. It's not on the agenda. Was not given 24 hours public notice to be on the agenda. It's not appropriate according to section 610.020 of Missouri statutes that you have to have 24 hours public notice to be considered on the agenda. I think it ought to be ruled out of order.
Okay,
Mr.
I have
Chairman?
a question then. Just a second. Christina posted this as I understand it. Christina, would you talk to that? Was this posted 24 hours before the meeting?
It was posted 24 hours before the meeting. The discussion that was put on the agenda was possibility of a 1-month utility bill forgiveness and an action item to speak to that. So this particular motion was on that agenda per se.
Okay. Okay, Garland, did you want to say anything more about that?
Since it was not on the agenda, I don't think it's in order for us to discuss it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Any,
shouldn't we
Yes.
shouldn't we be getting a decision on Mr. Land's concern once again with our legal expert, Sarah? As to
okay,
whether
Sarah,
this is
do
in
you
order or
want
it's not.
Sarah, would you
Yeah,
weigh
so
in
the
on
last
this?
time, sure will. So the last time we talked about the agenda that has to be posted 24 hours in advance, that is a tentative agenda and motions from the floor can be done through public meetings.
Okay, so this could be considered a motion from the floor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Garland, do you have anything more you want to say about that? And we'll, if you want to put your idea into a motion, we can vote on that.
I'm not sure what you mean, Jerry.
Well, if you
Mr.
feel
Chairman,
this is
Larry
not-
Porter.
Go ahead, Larry.
We have discussed it, and it's all perfectly legal, so let's have a vote.
Well, I'd like, no, I don't, I'm not ready to vote. I think we need to, is this a substitute motion for the motion that was put on the agenda? I'm not sure what we're talking about. Is this a substitute motion? Are we going to be talking about the main motion? I'm not sure what we're doing here.
Okay. I believe it is a substitute motion.
It wasn't presented that way. It was not presented as a substitute motion.
Okay. Mark, is that your intention to have this as a substitute motion?
My intent was the motion I just gave from the floor, pure and simple. It was ruled upon by our legal team, Sarah, big team, and we've had a motion. It's been seconded. It's time for discussion, and then let's vote.
Then are we going to?
Okay.
Then are we going to consider what was on the agenda after this motion is considered?
If somebody wants to do that, that's a separate issue. I made a motion from the floor, period.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion that Mark has made?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Jack Looney.
Go ahead.
Comments directed or questions directed to Power and Light. We do have a representative there. I think I understood. Although we're looking at giving some financial relief by waiving the April charges for utilities, this is projected to go on for months. And I guess I would like to hear from the utility that if it goes on for months, we're going to have people still can't pay their bill. Still people that, well, basically that's what it amounts to. But are we sound economically to have that kind of an impact for 3 or 4 months?
Adam, do you want to respond to that, or someone else?
I'm glad to. I'm the staff person here. Happy to respond to that question. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in our economy, and the duration and the severity of what we're dealing with. Businesses are impacted. City finances are impacted. Utility revenue will also be impacted by this. So in light of all this uncertainty, I don't think it's prudent for us to be making any kind of financial commitment at this point until we have a better understanding of the financial impact of all of this.
Mr. Chairman, Mark McDonald.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know that I could disagree with that comment, but at the same time, why would we be allowing the city to have money borrowed from that same fund that we're talking from? The fund is a ratepayers fund. It's not a city fund to make decisions on. That's would be my concern. And and I have to say, I appreciate Indy Energy for getting the information out. I wasn't privy to be at the meeting with the Audit and Finance Committee, but I would have expressed my concerns just as Mr. Norris has for if we're in such a concern for the economy, why would we be borrowing from our utility funds if we're not sure that we're going to be able to financially withstand folks not being able to pay their bill?
Mr. Chair, if I may respond to that.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, a couple things. We do have programs available through partnerships with CSL for individuals that need utility assistance to get that through that organization. So there are utility assistance programs available that we fund. I believe we also fund some programs through Spire as well for that. I think we are finalizing some details about the Finance and Audit Committee's discussion earlier this week to place on the agenda for Monday. while I understand the concern Mr. McDonald has raised, they're kind of two separate matters in my assessment, if I understand this correctly, where one is a loan and one would be a rebate completely. So one would be repaid and one would not be.
Mr. Chairman, Mark McDonald again. I'd like to
Yes.
respond. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Mr. Norris, I totally agree. But unfortunately, they may be two separate issues, but it's coming from the same fund. It's coming from the reserves from the ratepayers for IPL, WPC, and Independence Water. So my concern is, how can we make a decision to either borrow or have money available from a fund that's really not appropriate in regards to the city charter 3.17 or the bond rent decision that basically says there is it's supposed to be an arm's length relationship with the city. The only connection or relationship should be the pilot. And we always get that confused. City funds versus enterprise funds. And that's the only separation I'm trying to make here. I love the city, and I wouldn't be volunteering if I didn't. But at the same time, when we're on the PUAB, our mission is to represent the ratepayers, not to represent the citizens. Citizens are a part of the group, but there's also ratepayers, that commercial payers that don't live in the city, that we also must represent. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Garland.
Okay. Go ahead, Garland.
When I prepared for this meeting, I talked to several of my friends to get their reaction to what I thought was the agenda, but I think my comments relate to both this motion and the earlier motion that we're going to discuss. And one of my friends in my neighborhood made some cogent remarks, and I'd like to just kind of repeat what he told me, his reaction to this whole issue. He said he thought that this was all very premature. His point was that it's really too early for us to understand what the impact of the financial situation was, and basically what was going to happen from the federal response. We do know that there's going to be a major federal response. In fact, we know just yesterday from the president's news release that that there's some major decisions came down in terms of the money that is going to be coming out. And for us to, at this point in time, respond when we know that there's going to be new monies coming out into our community, that may be just one-time monies, but we don't know what's going to happen to us 2, 3, 4 months from now. And if we spend all of our reserves at this point in time, not knowing what's going to be needed 2, 3 months from now, and we don't have any reserves left, then we're kind of shooting our wad right now when we may need monies later on to assist people. So that was, I thought, a very cogent comment on his part. He also made the point, he says, I don't need the money. You know, he's a businessman. He sits on a lot of community boards. He represents people, low-income people. He says, I don't need the money myself. He says, but I am concerned about low-income people. He says, I would much rather have money going in a targeted way for the people of greatest need. And so I've been looking at those comments and trying to research what's going on in terms of the federal response and what's going on in our own community. And I found some rather interesting information that I wasn't aware of until I started researching this. For those people who are on food stamps, a person who's on food stamps who is only getting $16, the federal response now will give them $164. That's a major increase in financial response to them. So their income is really going to go up in helping them. Now, as you know, I'm on the CSL board, so I'm very interested in low-income people and helping them on. So I'm not in any way negating those types of people. And in fact, I'm very interested in them. We do know from just yesterday, they said that the CARES Act, that those checks will start coming out in 2 weeks' time. That means a family of four will get $3,400 to whatever past motion that we give. You know, that money is going to come out very quickly. If we spend all of our money in the next month or two, it's just going to be on top of the money that the federal government is giving out. And then, as I said before, we may need our money later on. We do have a targeted way. If we want to assist people that of greatest, well, the other thing that we heard yesterday is that they're going to be giving through the Small Business Administration money to our business people. So they can take loans, which will probably be forgivable loans, so they can hire the people that they had to lay off. Our businesses will not be hurt and their employees will not be hurt. So they can be made whole. Now, my concern is that's maybe just a one-time money. It may be just a month or two. We know that the real impact of this is probably going to be 2, 3, 4 months from now. So again, I'm concerned about actions that we do right now, and when maybe the greatest need will be 3 or 4 months from now. If we're really interested in those individuals that might be falling through the cracks, as was mentioned earlier, we do have a way to assist them through CSL and through their program through iShare. And that's the way that we can target the people of need. I don't need the money. Probably most of the people in the CUOB don't need the money. We're retired. We're not being hurt. But there are people that could fall through the cracks. And there's a way that we could transfer money to CSL through the iShare program. So if there are people who are falling through the cracks, that they can then make that money available to them for the build. And I'd much rather see us focus on that approach than some approach that gives a blanket share of money to everybody in the community, to millionaires or to people who don't need the money, people in my neighborhood that don't need the money, rather than giving the money in a focused way for those who really do need it.
Okay, let's get back to the specifics of this particular motion. And Garland, if you'd like to make a motion after this or whatever regarding CSL, then I think that's might be a good one to have. But is there any further discussion on? Pardon me?
If you accept
is there any further discussion on this meeting, on this motion? Any further discussion?
I will make a substitute motion to the motion that is being considered. Would that be in order?
No.
I guess I'd rather clear this one up, Garland, and then let you have a motion standing on its own.
Okay.
And one question to Mark. Mark, was this meant to be a one-time rebate? It doesn't go on for month after month, right?
You know, my whole purpose and my research that I did on my own, I didn't have any help with friends, but I tried to focus on the city charter and also the Bondurant case. The whole issue is I don't know how much money we should be giving them or putting into this refund. That's not what I think our role is. I think that the folks that are closer to it, the mayor's group with the subcommittee on rates, I think they do an excellent job of researching the issues. And I think they've done an excellent job in the past figuring out what's real and what's not real. But at no time did I make a determination of how much needs to go. I'm trying to follow 3.17, which we've only actually even touched upon once in the history of, I think, the charter. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, it's asking us, and as the Bondurant decision says, those profits are supposed to be going back to the ratepayers. We don't have the right to look at someone else's, the ratepayers function. My family, we're going to be donating the money. If we get money back, we will be donating it to, damn, my wife's out making a mask right now. That's how we function. We take care of our own, and we also try to get back to the community. So everyone has to make their own determination of how they handle it. And under the charter, 3.17 makes it very clear that that's exactly the direction we're going, should be going. It says shall. It doesn't say maybe, or up to the PUAB to determine how we should funnel these dollars. And all I'm saying is this is the time that we should be moving. It does not say that this is a one-time deal. This could be multiple months. I don't know what the answer is, but I want it to be available to the council that we recommend that it's time to give some of these excess reserves back to the ratepayers. That answer that, Jerry? I'm sure it's way too much.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Any further discussion on this motion, Mark's motion?
Yes, two comments, Jack Looney. To Power and Light, don't we have reserve funds sufficient to run the utility for a year?
This is Adam. This is Adam Norris. I think we look.
I thought that was a federal requirement.
I know we have on our balance sheet operating reserves for 90 days. And then there is, I'd have to get back to you about whether it's a year or not. I'm not sure.
I think I've never seen a year. I've seen 90 days and 120 days. I've never seen anything else on it.
It's standard for utilities. I'm not sure for specific for electric utilities, but 90-day operating reserve is
okay.
Typical. I would need to look at specific requirements for electric utilities, though.
Well, if we have sufficient funds to operate our utility for extended period of time out of reserve funds, that would give credit to a rebate or a waiver. If not, it would work just the opposite. The other comment I want to make, Mark McDonald pretty much covered it. I was sitting here waiting, but he covered it, but I'll put it in different terms. The Bondurant decision and the charter, we do not have the right to pick and choose, decide that we like this part of it, we don't like that part of it. It says shall, just as Mark commented on, but as collectively as a group, we don't follow that, and we should be ashamed of ourselves. That's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, this is Garland again. It was mentioned in the Finance Audit Committee that we do not have a 90-day reserve, that we're under the 90-day reserve. And I wasn't clear on that point. Could somebody tell us from the staff if indeed we are meeting our 90-day reserve allotment or not?
Adam, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so for IPL, we are that's something that I've been working towards since the city manager kind of shuffled things around. Water department has a 90-day reserve. The WPC is the one that's very close there. I think I'm trying to look through the February preliminary financials right now, and I believe we'll be able to achieve that, but it'll be very little money, non-restricted resources available once we do get to the 90-day reserve. I think for IPL, we have about for IPL, I believe we're at about 180 days right now.
Restricted.
Okay, any further discussion to the motion? Hearing none, then I'm going to call for the question. Would you call the roll?
Larry Porter,
Yes.
Jack Looney,
Yes.
Garland Land.
No.
I'm sorry, was that a no?
That's a no.
Thank you. Joe Zach,
Yes.
Mark McDonald,
Yes, ma'am.
Jerry Atkins,
Yes. I believe the motion passed, and there might be a further motion. Anybody wants to make, or you want to go back to, is there a further motion or suggestion?
Mr. Chairman, Larry Porter.
Yes, yes, Larry.
I'm not sure I'm a motion. I just would like to see this. It's my understanding that the council's supposed to vote on Monday on borrowing money from Power and Light and Water to get through this time. I think this motion that we've just passed should get to the council as soon as possible, so that they consider it along with what they're talking about. I don't understand. I read the 8.8 in the charter that Zach has quoted. I understand that, but as past practices have shown us, and that brings up the Bondurant decision, such as the street lights, we got paid for them 1 year, and then the next year is less, and now it's nothing. So we seem to violate this thing as it goes along. If we're going to put money out to the general fund again, I don't know where the money is coming back from. You're borrowing, and I don't know of any bank that doesn't loan money and they have some collateral. If they decide not to pay it back, then it's gone. I think our decision here on the rebate to the customer, as Mark's motion was, I make a motion that our decision here on this get to the city council as soon as possible.
Okay, question. You mean that you'd want it to be on their agenda for Monday?
Well, yeah, if they can put it to, I don't know whether Christine can do that or not. If at all possible, put it on their agenda to consider our proposal on the rebate.
Okay, is that a motion then?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Joe Zach, I second that motion.
Okay, discussion on the motion to get the motion that we passed on the city agenda for Monday's meeting. Any question, any discussion about that?
Only that it's a recommendation, Jack Looney.
That's correct. I meant to say that, Jack. You're right.
Okay. You're right, and that's amended to that extent. Any further discussion? Yeah. Go ahead. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Would you call the roll on the motion to get this information to the city council in the form of getting it on their agenda for Monday, for their Monday's meeting? Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Larry Porter,
Yes.
Jack Looney,
Yes.
Garland Land,
Yes.
Joe Zach,
Yes.
Mark McDonald,
Yes.
Jerry Atkins,
Yes. And that appears to be a unanimous vote. I just want to applaud the board. We don't get that often. Okay, is there any further motion from the floor or consideration?
Yes, I'll go ahead and
Jack
make a
Looney
motion.
with comment.
Okay, who's this now?
Jack Looney.
Jack, go ahead.
I'd just like to say in support of Larry Porter's comments and other board members through the months, and my experience of 4 decades with the city, if we keep nickel and diming, so to speak, or borrowing from, taking from, regardless of the financial arrangement, from the utilities, we keep this practice up, we won't have utilities to have a board for. That's the end of my comment.
Okay. Thanks, Jack. Any further discussion? Anything anybody wants to bring up?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make an motion
Okay.
that the city council consider making a transfer of funds to Community Services League for support of the iShare program, additional support for the iShare program.
Okay, that's a motion.
Yes.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay.
Yeah,
hearing
I
none.
support. Yes, I second. Jack Looney.
Jack seconds it. Okay. Then the floor is open for discussion of the motion.
Jack Looney with a comment.
Go ahead.
Should that motion or recommendation state where those funds should come from? The city doesn't have the money.
No, it'd be from IPL.
Okay, well, that probably needs to be clear.
Yeah, that was the intent, that it would come from IPL reserves.
Garland, I respect that it was the intent, but it's not in the motion at the moment.
Okay, if she could correct that.
Yeah, you have that written. Did you write that down, Garland?
No.
Okay, well, would you like to restate
it
the
if you-
motion as an advisory and from IPL funds rather than city funds?
Yes, IPL reserve funds.
Mr. Chair, this
Larry
is Tina.
Porter, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Larry, go ahead.
Garland, those go to, shouldn't they, some of it come out of water also? Because they're paying that bill too.
No,
And they're
iShare is only for it does not pay for the water or sewer. It's only for the electricity.
Electric.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was
Okay.
misinformed and I thought it did when I worked for the water. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
Mark
Yes.
McDonald.
Mark, go ahead.
I have a question. Specifically, where in the charter does it indicate that we can recommend money to go to some other agency, and I truly believe in IRAP, can go to another agency with utility funds other than what is listed on 3.17?
This is common practice already, Mark. It's already being done. This is a long-standing practice that the city through IPL does transfer monies to CSL.
I guess my response to that would be, because someone has done something wrong for years or should not be doing something, doesn't mean that we should be recommending something that is wrong that we all know is wrong.
Well, I'm not sure that it is wrong. I just can't quote you what the basis of it is at this point in time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Jozak,
Go ahead.
I have a comment on this. Just sitting back listening to this, Mr. Land is bringing up a point there of just go to Powerline, get some money. Isn't this what we all started about, to regulate how this all happens? And like Mark McDonald brought up earlier, we just seem like we're just falling right into the same trap, and let's just go to Powerline and get money. like it's a big open bank account. And anyway, that's my comment. We're just following down a line on it as it has been, and we've just been discussing trying to, stop this, not stop it, but make it at least legal and follow the terms of the city or the charter. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments on Garland's motion? Okay, any further comments?
Well, I guess
Okay.
Jack Looney.
Yes,
I
go
wouldn't
ahead.
sure it would be overly harmful to table this until we have all the answers.
Well, do you want to move
The
the
next-
table or? Jack, you can move to table if that's your intent.
I hear different opinions from the board members that it's a long practice, standing practice, and others that say that we should be conservative. If it's a practice that Power and Light's been Power and Light for a long time for our community, I think that speaks for itself. And I think Garland could probably arrive at the legitimacy of it by the next meeting.
Okay. Any
So I
further
do-
discussion? Go ahead. Go ahead, Jack.
I think we got a motion on the floor already.
Right, okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, would you have a roll call, please, on this motion?
Larry Porter,
No.
could you repeat that, please? Mr. Porter, could you repeat that, please?
No.
Thank you. Jack Looney,
No.
Garland Land.
Yes.
Garland Land, can
Folks,
you
we're
hear us?
getting a lot of background. Let me get in the middle. We're getting a lot of background noise. Would you hold your microphone if you're not speaking? Hold your finger over your microphone, please. Okay, go ahead, Christina.
Okay, I'm calling a vote for Garland Land.
Yes.
Could you repeat, please? Mr. Land, could you please
Christina,
repeat
we're
your
having a
vote?
hard time hearing you. Yeah, Christina, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, is that better?
Hopefully, go ahead.
Garland Land, please repeat your vote.
Yes.
Thank you. Joe Zach,
No.
Mark McDonald,
No.
Jerry Atkins,
No. It appears as though the motion has failed. Are there any other comments or motions from the floor?
Yes, Jack Looney.
Go ahead, Jack.
I think this item, even though it failed, it has merit. I think many of us just don't have the information required to make a financial decision of such. I'd like to make a motion to have this item brought up again at the next meeting for reconsideration.
Okay, I see no problem with that. We can bring up whatever at the next meeting. And so I'll make a note of it and you make a note of it, and next meeting we have, you're welcome to bring that up.
Okay,
Is that agreed, Jack?
Mr.
It is.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to vote on that?
it was a motion.
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion?
Call for vote.
Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, the vote's been called for. Let's have a roll call on the motion, which, Jack, would you restate that motion?
That we put the motion that failed by the Garland Land on the agenda for the next meeting for reconsideration.
Okay. That's what we're voting on. Would you have, let's have the roll call, please.
Larry Porter,
Yes.
Jack Looney,
Yes.
Garland Land.
Yes.
Can you repeat that, please?
That was a yes, Christina.
Thank you. Joe Zach, Mr. Zach, can we get your vote, please?
No.
Mark McDonald,
Yes.
Jerry Atkins,
Yes. So the motion has passed and it will be brought up at the next meeting. Anything else from the floor or comments or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I move
Okay,
to adjourn.
Okay. Any further discussion, and then we will adjourn. Okay, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 11:45. Thanks to everybody, staff and members.
Thank you.
I think,
Goodbye.
yeah,